So we talked about a team that has had a rough start to the NHL this coming season, but today we're going to talk about a team that has had a really hot start in the NHL this past season. So we're going to take a look at the Boston Bruins yet again today, and this is a team that I've analyzed a lot last season and a lot in the offseason, and they were a team that had a lot of questions around them, 100%. There were the questions with Charlie McAvoy, Brad Marchand. There was a lot of questions around there because obviously those players were injured. Oh, what's the team going to do without them? And really, they've done relatively well without those two forwards. Now, Brad Marchand has come back, and he has started playing some games. But the Bruins, even before that, they looked red hot. And I think the biggest thing behind that has to be head coach Jim Montgomery. So let's take a look at some numbers here. The Bruins so far, before their game against Pittsburgh tonight, November 1st, this video will obviously come out the day after that, so don't include those stats. These are all stats from October. The Bruins are 8-1-0. With 16 points, they have scored 39 goals and only let in 21, and they are first in the NHL. They're 6-0 at home. They are undefeated at home, and they are 2-1-0 on the road. And their only loss being to the Ottawa Senators, which was a 7-5 loss. So it was competitive. It was close, but they still lost in the end. But yeah, the Bruins, they look good. This team just looks dynamic. They look like they're ready to go, and they just have a really fast pace to them. They look very, very good. And I think, again, I'm going to go back to Jim Montgomery. I think it's because Montgomery is putting this mentality ahead, offense first, and he's letting the team kind of play a little bit more offensive because when Bruce Cassidy was in town, not degrading to Bruce Cassidy at all, people did think that, Cassidy would punish people for other mistakes, and the Bruins were a lot more defensive. Well, obviously that isn't the case anymore because of Pastrnak and Bergeron and some of the other players on this team. They look very, very good. So I definitely think that, with this Montgomery offensive first mentality has definitely helped them out and helped them have a very hot start in the long run. Definitely. Now, when you take a look at their league leaders and who leads this team right now, Pastrnak leads the way right now, hands down, with 7 goals, 10 assists for 17 points in just 9 games played, which is absolutely unbelievable. That is absolutely crazy. Less than 10 games played, and you have nearly 20 points. Just a crazy start to the year for David Pastrnak. And hey, he's on a contract year. We've heard talks, and I've heard a lot of rumors over the past couple of days talking about how this team, they're trying to get a signing in place with David Pastrnak. They've been talking to him relatively every day about an extension, and it just seems like they're starting to get closer and closer, but they aren't close just yet. And I definitely think that with Pastrnak playing this hot, I think it's going to cost the Bruins a lot of questions come the end of next season and when they need to sign this guy to a deal. Now, the other players that are playing pretty well. Patrice Bergeron has a point per game with 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points in just 9 games played. Obviously, he's looked pretty solid as well. Definitely the very solid captain. There were looming rumors of him maybe not coming back, but hey, he did. Then in third in scoring is David Krejci. Now, Krejci obviously returned from a season previously out in the Czech Republic, so obviously he's come back to the Boston Bruins, and he's looked good as well. 2 goals, 6 assists for 8 points in just 8 games played. He is also a point per game. He's looked very solid as well. Definitely really solid second line forward. Very good center. Definitely helping out Boston and their overall depth, which is definitely something that has been a question the past couple of years. Fourth in scoring is Jake DeBrusk, who kind of had a hot start to the year. 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in 8 games played. And then fifth in scoring is defenseman Hampus Lindholm. Well, Elias Lindholm kind of is a defenseman. He plays defensive on the same. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, Hampus Lindholm, fifth in scoring with 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points in just 9 games played. So yeah, those are the 5 players right now that I think are red hot. But I'm going to give a shout out over to Pavel Zacha. Zacha, obviously, he was that one acquisition with the Eric Holla 1-for-1 deal. It was a question as to, who's going to win this deal? Who really is the winner of this trade? And it looks like, it kind of looks even. It kind of looks like both teams kind of won this deal. Eric Holla's looked good in New Jersey, but I would argue Pavel Zacha's looked better in Boston. When David Krejci was injured against the Blue Jackets in their last game where they won 4-0, Zacha came in and played that second line role and actually played pretty well. He played really solid, and I definitely think that is the type of player you need. He can play on all positions, all lines. He's a very solid forward and definitely a forward that Boston needed, and Erik Haula was not good at playing those type of roles at all. So definitely good to get Pavel Zacha into the lineup and playing pretty well. When you look at this team's goaltenders, it gets even crazier. Linus Ullmark is the big player there. He's looked very, very good. A 6-0-0 record with a 1.70 goals against average, a .945 save percentage, and one shutout that was against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, he has looked very, very good. 1.7 goals against average is great. Definitely trying to keep this up and keep this going. I like how this team is playing right now, and definitely the goaltending is really helping them out with that, as well as that the defense, which we thought, with McAvoy being out, it wasn't going to be all too good. But no, it actually looks pretty solid, and it is holding off some of the shots that Boston is facing. So definitely they're playing very well there on the blue line. Some of those blue liners that have come up through the system. However, though, I do believe that they will have to make a trade eventually when Charlie McAvoy comes back, which I have heard he is in a contact jersey as of right now. So he could make his debut as early as, let's say, the Rangers, which is later on this week. So we'll see there what happens there with McAvoy, but as of right now, I think their defense is in good hands. Jeremy Swayman, your backup goaltender, hasn't had the best start. Really, I mean, he was involved in that 7-5 loss against the Senators. So, more or less, his stats aren't going to be all too good. He has a 2-1-0 record with a 3.76 goals against average and a .872 save percentage. So, obviously, doesn't have the best stats in the world, but hey, he's only played 3 games. So, we'll see what he can do carrying it on through the rest of the season. Now, taking a look at injuries, obviously, I want to talk about this as well. McAvoy, and we touched base on this throughout the video. McAvoy is obviously still hurt. He's out probably until maybe the end of November, but he could come back very, very soon. He is in a contact jersey, so he is definitely ahead of schedule. Brad Marchand, he made his debut against the Detroit Red Wings, had 2 goals and 3 points, which I thought was, 2 goals and 3 points, which I thought was very impressive. For your first game back. Made no time getting back into it. And supposedly, as of right now, David Krejci is day-to-day. So he may be playing in the game against Pittsburgh tonight. He may not be. I'm not entirely too sure yet. But obviously, Krejci is definitely one of those solid forwards. But hey, a guy like Pavel Zacha definitely makes your team significantly better in that remark. So obviously, they've been in this situation before with injuries. And it looks like they're going to get the same outcome where they're still a solid team through all of it. So definitely Boston has looked very good. Now, we're going to take a look at their game-by-game schedule for October. Then we're going to take a look at November's schedule because I do want to factor this in into why the Bruins are 8-1-0. Now, I want to talk about this. So, they played Washington opening night. They won 5-2. Then they played Arizona. They won 6-3. They played Florida. They won 5-3. They played Ottawa. They lost 7-5, so that was their only loss of the year. And then they just picked it up from there. They played Anaheim. They won 2-1. They played Minnesota. They won 4-3. They played Dallas. They won 3-1. They played Detroit. They won 5-1. And then they played Columbus, and they won 4-0. So obviously this team's looked really good, but I'm going to factor this in here. So I factored it in as teams that are competitive, are a solid team, and teams that aren't a solid team really so far throughout the season. Washington is a solid team. Arizona obviously isn't, so you're 1-1 there. Florida's a solid team. Ottawa's a solid team, so I factored that in there to their loss. Anaheim is not a solid team. Minnesota's looked iffy, so I'm not going to put them as a solid team just yet. Dallas has looked solid. Detroit has looked solid, and Columbus is bad. So, out of those 9 games, only 4 of them are teams that I'd say weren't competitive or weren't like a very solid team to play against. And hey, 5 of those 4 were definitely, but I look at next month. I look at November and I see the month ahead. I would say only 2 of the teams that are in, as of right now, only 2 of the teams that they play next month aren't like competitive or really teams that they shouldn't have a problem beating. Yeah, only 2 teams. That is just yikes. 2 of the 12 games are teams that are, aren't the best teams in the world right now. And that could change because a team that isn't very solid that I have listed is Vancouver, and they're on the rise right now. So we'll see. So starting off, they play Pittsburgh tonight. They're away at Pittsburgh. So let's see if their home record can keep up. They start this road trip, and they have a really big test. They play Pittsburgh, then they play the Rangers, then they play Toronto, then they go back to home for 2 games against St. Louis and Calgary, then they go over to Buffalo, then they play Vancouver, which is one of the 2 non-competitive games, then they play Philadelphia, then you play Chicago, which should be an easier game. Then you play Tampa, then you play Florida, then you play the Hurricanes, and then you play the Lightning again. So that is a very interesting month. They're going to have a lot of big tests this coming month to see if this 8-1-0 record is actually legitimate. And do I think they can keep it up? Absolutely. Hey, it's the Boston Bruins. They always do solid during the regular season. They always do very good, and I absolutely love watching this team play. Definitely going to catch a couple of these games, obviously, before the month ends. So, yeah. That is the Boston Bruins right now. Do I think they can keep up this hot streak? Absolutely. They have the momentum. They have the players. They have the offense. They have the defense. This team just all around looks great right now. So, yeah. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching. Fresh Pros, I really do appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe down below if you are new. And check out the Nordcast, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that enough. We do have a podcast. I will put a picture on screen right now. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, any platform that you listen to your podcasts on. We recently had a Bruins fan join us on the podcast, and he talked to us about how hot the Bruins are. So credit to him. Credit to Max Mainville for helping me out in making this video as well. I brought up some of the points that he made in that podcast. So yeah. Anyways, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Adios.